Welcome to Books and Brews Light number 57 with Elisha Lee. Welcome, Elisha. And I enjoyed being on your program. What was that, a couple months ago already?
I know, doesn't time fly?
Yes, it does. Yeah. All of a sudden, it's like we're in late November. I was talking to I think it was one of my kids the other day. And I said, wow, I can't believe it's early November. And then I was like, no, it's mid-November. And then I went, it's late November.
Like Thanksgiving is literally in 2 days.
Uh-huh. I
Yep.
know. And I've been planning like for a month and a half to invite people over. And all of a sudden it's like, well, now it's in 2 days. It's stupid to invite someone 2 days before Thanksgiving. So we'll have Thanksgiving alone. But maybe we'll invite the sheep and the rabbits up. We'll bring them all into the house.
I think that would be amazing. Why not?
Right. Well, I have to confess I'm getting a little bit scared of one of the rams.
Oh,
And it's a little bit illogical, but what happened was, well, I've already been trampled once, which I probably mentioned, but the two of them, we only have two full-grown rams, and we keep them for diversity in the herd, rather than all of them being the same exact, combination of DNA. And so the problem is they fight for dominance, and they don't do it often. But the last time they did it, I was dragging their big food trough down to the lower part of the pasture, and the whole flock was following me, and the two of them suddenly got into it, and they looked like they were going to hurtle down the hill right on top of me.
That's scary.
Yeah, it kind of was just for a second, and luckily that didn't happen. But when I bring the food buckets in, they all just crowd around me, and there are about 21 of them now, including these two big rams. So it is a little bit intimidating, even though in general they're completely not aggressive at all, especially the females, but the males have never been aggressive either.
Mhm.
Each other. So, but anyway, this show is about you. So can you introduce yourself
But I
to
am an animal lover, so I'm all for talking about sheep and rams. So it's all good.
yeah. So tell my audience about yourself.
Oh, yes, that is important. My
Mhm.
name is Elisha Lee. I'm the founder of the practice, Restoring You Christian Counseling, where we address topics around mental health and faith and all kinds of different things. I also am the host of a podcast called Elisha Space, where we also talk about topics, whether it be a blend or separate, of mental health and faith as well. And I'm also the author of the Mental Health Handbook. And I cannot believe I just went blank on the other book. I created an adult coloring book on mindfulness. Yes, mindfulness, affirmations of forgiveness and grace. Thank you for that help.
Isn't it biblical affirmations?
Yes, biblical affirmations. So everything, all of the affirmations are grounded in from scripture, and you just color around it, and you just color it, and it helps to affirm who we are in Christ. So thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm greatly appreciative.
Yep. And I will only show on screen if I'm talking. So I realized I was holding the book up while you talked, and it was doing absolutely no good.
And no, I can see it. It says, I am set free from the chains.
Right. You
Yes.
can see it, but on the recording, the audience won't unless I'm actually talking. So anyway, so people can see kind of an example of what the coloring is like. And so those are the two books you have, right?
Yes, those are the two books. I'm also in the process of when you're writing, you're always writing, right?
Yep.
So I'm also creating a novel. I'm writing a novel for tweens about relationship dynamics, and what a healthy relationship could look like as a novel. So a romance. And I'm also creating another coloring book too. So,
Fantastic. So what made you decide to go with a novelized discussion of relationships or a book
so
for tweens?
well, I went with the novel because I am a survivor. I've been a survivor for many years of domestic violence, and sometimes those types of topics are heavy, and they're easier. People can swallow them a little bit easier in story form.
Okay.
Um, and the other reason is because you know, if whomever reads these books can get a better idea of how to flow when you're in a place of insecure attachment, on how to flow in a healthier place within your relationships, or whatever
Mhm.
that might look like, within your attachment style or in your communication overall, what it looks like to have an unhealthy trauma bond with a potential partner, and how to get it to a healthier place and what that looks like, then I think that will make the world a better place, you
Yeah,
know?
it definitely will. And I think that in the world today, we have a lot of misconceptions or we just don't think enough. And I'm going to go out on a limb, risk angering people here, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that
Oh,
a
no,
lot of people
you risk
just
angering people? Really?
Yeah, I get a lot of people angry with me. I'm not trying to, I really am not. But anyway, I think a big problem is that we're sort of programmed by TV, by novels,
Right,
by romance novels to be jumping into bed with somebody right away. And it seems that a lot of people think by the third date, no problem. In fact, that's showing restraint. You don't get to know the person when you've only seen them 3 times.
right.
And then you get very emotionally attached by that action, and then you don't see clearly. So, how is your book going about addressing this? Is it a character who's in a bad relationship or thinking about being in one?
Well, I'm looking at creating a series. So
Mhm.
it'll show the journey of what the beginning of the relationship can look like, what the relationship looks like when everything is fantastic, wonderful, and you're in that in love stage, and
Mhm.
then also what the real work of a relationship looks like when you're in the middle, and then how that progresses accordingly. And some of the series, the relationships are uh, in some of the book series, because it'll be multiple books series. Some of the book series there'll be and happily ever after, and
Mhm.
some of that will be um, I'm choosing myself and we're separating, and this is the best decision for both of us.
Yep.
And trying to make that look normal, because I don't see that in a lot of romance novels, where the the choice is to release each other so that you can have a better
Mhm.
life, realizing that you're not good for each other for whatever
Right.
reason.
That
Yes.
does seem like not to fit the romance style, but I think that you make a good point
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
sometimes you really need to.
Yeah, and trying to normalize what that can look like too, you
Mhm.
know.
And digging into the reasons why you would do that, I assume. That you would also dig into the reasons why you would decide we need to
Oh,
go
yes,
our separate
absolutely.
ways instead of.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at, within a series, having three books within the
Mhm.
series. And there won't be a lot of pages within the books. So it'd be pretty, because it is for tweens or teens.
Right.
And so within that age group, but anyone can read it and get something from it. But I really
Mhm.
think I'm really aiming that towards our youth, because I feel like the sooner we learn what relationships can look like, the sooner we can embrace what our idea of what a relationship looks like, and normalize what the reality of a relationship can look like, and grow from that.
Right.
So,
And like I said, I think a big part of our problem is exactly that our arts, our movies, our books are normalizing the idea that you jump into bed right away. And so I think it is vitally important to have art, literature, movies, music that highlight healthier ways of building relationship.
Absolutely.
So, what inspired your mental health handbook? How long has that been out?
The Mental Health Handbook has been out for about 2 years. And the inspiration around that was, let's see, about 2 years. It was about 2022, 2023, around that time when I started writing the book. And then when it was published, I believe it was in 2023. So what inspired me doing it is we were just coming out of the haze of COVID, because 2020 was COVID, and then 2021 things started to open up.
Mhm.
And we weren't doing a really good job of utilizing our coping mechanisms and our self-care. And I was noticing that we weren't doing a really good job around emotional regulation
Mhm.
and just overall. And I mean, it was clear I was seeing it as a society. Weren't handling well. Social media, people might say we still have those challenges today, and social media. And so I wanted to, and I also recognized that, and currently recognize that not everybody has the resources for getting help and support from a counselor or a therapist. And
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with going to your spiritual leader for support, but there's some things that your spiritual leader isn't necessarily doesn't have the knowledge or training in, that someone else can help you. And that doesn't saying one is better or worse than the other.
Mhm.
It's just stating a fact that the education is different.
Right.
So I wanted to provide a tool that you could have in your own um, toolbox that you can utilize, and maybe create your own coping plan and let that assist you within your own journey of
Mhm.
healing as you were going forward. It was really kind of my gift to others who were struggling after uh, the COVID and all of the
Right.
things that happened around that.
So is it an actual workbook, Spaces to Write?
No, it's just a guide, and it just
The
lists
guide, okay.
different types of topics, and it provides you with meditations, breathing exercises, different types of breathing exercises you can try. It talks about visualization. And then at the end of the book, it provides you with a list of resources that you can reach out to that are no charge to you in regards to small group support
Mhm.
and others as well, other things as well.
Okay. What has the feedback been so far?
I've had extremely positive feedback as a result of it. Um, it's not meant to replace therapy. It's just supposed to be a
Mhm.
tool to provide extra support around that. I'm a big believer that everyone's healing journey looks different. And because your healing journey is looking different, what benefits me may not benefit you. So you just kind of you pick out, just like how you go, like a miner would do, you pick out the jewels and you throw away the stones. But
Okay.
so far, I've had really good feedback from the book, and people have been extremely thankful.
What is the reaction? Now, I know you're a big believer, obviously, in faith as part of the mental healing process. Is this a book that, say, an atheist would be like, oh, I can't do that? Or is it a book that pretty much anyone can use?
Anyone can use the book. I'm not it breathing exercises, they're breathing exercises. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So,
Mhm.
there are some things that are just universal, and thank goodness for that.
Right.
So, anyone can have access to this book and use this book. It's more on the clinical side of things
Mhm.
overall versus the faith side of things.
Okay. Do you get into things like gratitude and journaling as healing tools?
Gratitude journaling, and I also discuss different modalities as well, like DBT and cognitive behavioral therapy and things of that
Okay.
nature, that people
You
so that people can understand what the differences are. So when they
right.
decide that they do want to meet or talk with their that they want to talk with a counselor or a therapist, they can also kind of ask them like what do you what are your favorite modalities, and when they
Mhm.
talk to you about what they are, you'll know what they're talking about when they
Okay.
say that.
Can you define what a modality is? Is that a treatment method?
I'm sorry. Yes, it is.
Okay.
I did what exactly I
You're
said.
talking to a
I was.
musician, so I was like, Iranian,
That's
Mixolydian?
hilarious. So
Which actually there
yes,
would be
it's
some truth there
it's.
because I
Go
think it
ahead.
was Plato who talked about how the different modes affect us differently. So some modes you play, you write the music if you want to inspire men to war. You
Right.
use a different mode if you want people to, I don't
True.
know, fall in love or become calmer. So
Yeah.
actually that would be true too.
So around the arena of mental health, let's say a modality would be the practices that the counselor or therapist uses most often. Um, and it also gives you an idea of their foundational belief system when it comes to the healing journey as well.
Okay.
So I'm very big on um, thinking disorders. Not I don't like to use the words disorders, but thinking processes, right? So I'll use quite often cognitive behavioral therapy for, because it helps to redirect your your thinking, and
Hmm.
also it also helps to uh, realign things as it was originally created in your brain,
Hmm.
when it comes to negative thinking and things of that nature. So that would let somebody know, for example, that I'm very passionate and about holistic types of therapy. You see where
Hmm.
I'm coming from? So that's
Right.
the kind of
Right.
thing that, so it is kind of important to know what type of, the things that other people are
Right.
and asking those questions. So you get kind of a definition of what those different things can look like in this book as
Right.
well. So you can ask those questions and be informed and know what you're
Let,
talking
let
about.
me grab I actually wanted to bring this up, and this is why I'll write notes. I'll forget all this stuff.
I'm the same
Um,
way.
this is one of my books. I put out the Four Spheres,
Okay.
and what it does, it's a journal, so it's what they call a low content book, but it talks about the four spheres. This is very ancient philosophy that every day we should do something emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual
I like
each
that.
day.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's a very old philosophy. And I was just, can you talk a little bit about how that would relate to what you're doing? Because I'm guessing it does.
So yeah, that could actually be because like I said, this is not a workbook. So that could
Mhm.
actually be somewhat of a workbook to this book. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So because for example, for someone who is well actually for just about a whole lot of the um, situations that people would see me for, I'm a lot of times I, I'm trying to remember a time I haven't discussed the importance of some sort of physical movement, right?
Hmm.
And how it can assist with um, it can support and assist you both within your physical body, of course, but also with your mental health too. And
Hmm.
so, and what that connection can look like and how it can support each, is how that
Right.
simple active movement can do it, can assist that. So that workbook would be a great complement to what I'm currently doing as well. Now, the spiritual part, I don't really talk a lot about the spiritual part, you know, but it
Hmm.
could be a work, but I mean, hey, you and I could do a co-collaboration. I'm always thinking like this. We could
Yeah.
do a co-collaboration of this book and your book and combining the two.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
should look into that
seriously.
because to me that's so important. And in fact, I would like to maybe do another variation on it that does dig into or adds gratitude.
Right,
Because to me, and I think you and I might have talked about this on your program,
right, we
that
did.
was, I was in the darkest days of my life. That's one of the major things that pulled me out of it was a bucket list and gratitude and journaling, which I've done since I was 13 anyway. But I really think those three things saved my sanity and got me through.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that a lot of times, especially in the world around depression and anxiety, what we tend to do is we tend to look at where the gaps are, what's
Mhm.
missing. But when you shift your perspective from here to here and you say, hey, I have my health, I have this, I have that. Um, it helps to feed that energy around what you currently have
Yes.
and produces more. And so that, and then there are also, science says that there's also a shift that occurs within the brain with how things connect within the brain
Hmm.
physiologically by
Hmm.
just doing the gratitude piece. Also with journaling, journaling helps you to process what it is you're expressing or dealing with. So a lot of times, especially because things are so fast moving in this current world, we don't really process a lot of things that are happening. But journaling forces you to sit down and really process. And there's something about putting pen to paper too. So there's different ways you can journal. You know, you can do it on your phone. You can also do it artistically and make that a journal. Like some people are artistic, and so they may journal what they're experiencing and allow that to be part of the processing part. And then, of course, there's the old-fashioned pen versus pen and paper too.
Yeah.
Whatever way you choose to do it, it's making you sit in that present moment of what you're currently dealing with, whatever that looks like, whether it be, and uh, it doesn't really matter what that looks like is, but
Hmm.
it's forcing you to sit down and really process what happened. Because a lot of times, because we don't process what happened, it
Yep.
feeds our cognitive dissonance, and it can
Right.
hurt our mental health if we're not processing and really dealing with what's happening. And then on the spiritual side of things, that's why that's so important too, that we kind of like take our time and maybe read our Bible or whatever
Hmm.
or our devotions or whatever we're reading, or and then take time out to kind of like that act of prayer and meditation is another way that you're processing things as well.
Right. I am curious. This only just occurred to me as you were talking, but I
Uh-huh.
wonder if part of why journaling forces us to process differently. I'm assuming that my experience is typical of other people. You know how it's easy to get those conversations going in your head. Oh, he said such and such to me. And then you're in your head and you're giving the rebuttal and then you get the best of them in this conversation in your head.
Right.
But when you write, you're not going to sit down and write out this conversation. You're processing in a different way. Is that part of why journaling might work?
Yes, it is. And then another thing too is the physical act of journaling, whatever that might look like for
Mhm.
you. It's making you really look at what that was. So you're thinking it's one thing, but as you're journaling, you're realizing it's really not what I thought it was. You
Mhm.
know, it's really not what I thought it was. So let's say you get offended over somebody taking your parking space, and then you're journaling about it because, or whatever it is, because you need an outlet.
Yeah.
Because journaling is an outlet, which is
Mhm.
another reason why it's so important. So you're using the outlet of journaling, and then you're realizing, what am I getting so upset for? It's just a parking
Yes.
space, you know.
Right. I'm
So
I'm laughing
it
because
helps you to release whatever it is that's
uh,
going on in here, and then it also provides you with the analysis to look at, I am upset over a parking space.
right.
Really? You know,
Mhm.
that type of thing.
So I'm just laughing because I knew someone who used to get very agitated over somebody taking my parking space, not me, somebody else. I'm
Right.
keeping it very anonymous. But that's one reason, in addition to the fact I was driving a 15-passenger van for 10 years, I always park at the far end of the lot because number one, I get a parking place immediately. Number two, I get the exercise. Number three, I can find my car because I'm constantly forgetting where I park otherwise. And I'm just like, life is so much easier if I just park at the end of the lot. It solves at least 3 problems right there. So I
know,
kind of
like
got to
that,
pick
it's a
out a very
15-passenger van. Who can miss it? So,
well, I don't drive one anymore. So at the time, that was a fourth reason because I could get in and out of a spot where there
yeah.
was nobody else. But even now, now that I drive a normal sized vehicle, I'll still often park at the far end because otherwise I'm like, there's a sea of a parking lot with 5 million cars. I don't remember where I parked because my mind's on other things. So, how do you see faith fitting in with mental health? How does that impact mental health?
So I believe that everything is interconnected, spirit, soul, and
Mhm,
body. And so what affects your spirit, the current state of your spirit, as if you're a believer, if you're a Christian, the current state of your spirit is whole.
mhm,
It's your soul, your mind, your will, and your emotions. They say that the battlefield is in the mind, and I believe that's in scripture as well. Okay. I'm paraphrased it, but I do believe that's in there. Your mind, your will, and your emotions. It's getting that into alignment, into the correct alignment of who we are in Christ. And so, and a lot of that has to do with soul wounds or brokenheartedness, you know. But
mhm,
the word says that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And the word also says that he took on our brokenheartedness on at the at the time when he was being beaten,
mhm,
during that time period. So everything that the healing is part of our portion and who we are. So the other part to that is sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes what is going on with you emotionally can affect you physically as well. So there's
very
spirit,
much.
soul, and body. Example, if you're having some struggles with anger, it can affect your blood pressure. So as you work out whatever is occurring around your anger, you may see your blood pressure numbers get better. Okay. So I use that as an example, and that's how I tie that into mental health. And that's how I tie that into thinking holistically too, you know.
Do you have a reading ready?
So I will talk about nurturing relationships. So this is section 5 of nurturing nurturing relationships. Supportive relationships play a crucial role in maintaining and promoting positive mental health. When facing challenges or dealing with emotional difficulties, having strong support from family, friends, or loved ones can provide a valuable source of understanding, comfort, and validation. Supportive relationships can offer a safe space for individuals to share their thoughts and feelings without judgment, promoting emotional well being and reducing feelings of isolation. These relationships can also provide practical support, such as helping with daily tasks or providing guidance and advice when needed. Moreover, supportive relationships can enhance self esteem and self worth by promoting feelings of acceptance and belonging. The presence of caring and supportive individuals can offer a sense of security and stability, fostering a healthy sense of resilience and coping skills. Having supportive relationships enhances mental health and well being. They offer the emotional, social, and practical support necessary to navigate life's challenges and foster a positive mindset. Effective communication and conflict resolution skills are essential for maintaining healthy relationships and constructively resolving conflicts. An essential communication skill is active listening. This gives full attention to the speaker, showing understanding and empathy in clearing up any misunderstandings. It is also crucial to express oneself clearly and assertively, using I statements to convey feelings and needs without blaming or criticizing others. Nonverbal communication, such as body language and tone of voice, should also be considered, as they can greatly impact how messages are received. Conflict resolution skills involve finding common ground, seeking compromise, and being open to different perspectives. It is important to approach conflicts with a cooperative mindset, actively engaging in problem solving rather than resorting to defensive or aggressive behaviors. And I'll stop there.
Okay. I think that is advice that we see a lot. And one thing that I really had to learn in one relationship was to realize not everybody's trying to make it better.
Right.
And I think that's when you finally have to go, I can't make it. I keep bumping my clipboard here. I can't make it work myself, so I think that's important for people to realize. You have to look for when the other person isn't willing to do that. I wanted to ask you about a couple specific things. I think you talk about intergenerational trauma. That's something you deal with.
Yes.
I would be very interested in your opinion. I think sometimes we think of it as almost a family curse. And honestly, I believe those things exist. But I believe there's also just learned behavior. For instance, if you're raised by parents who survived the Great Depression, you might be a whole lot more likely to hoard or to save every little scrap because you might need it because you've been learned. So how would you kind of separate or identify whether something is an actual trauma or whether it's learned behavior?
So trauma
and does it matter, I should ask?
Intergenerational trauma can be a learned behavior.
Okay.
So trauma is anything, trauma can be anything, Laura, that gives you a jolt. So let's say the Great Depression, that was a jolt, right? For a lot of people. So they may, as a result of their trauma, decide that they're going to be very cautious about throwing things away, right? Which would lead to hoarding. So because little Johnny is seeing this is how this is happening, foundationally, little Johnny is thinking that's normal because that's what they've seen what their parents did. And so little Johnny is picking that up and doing that as well. Also, a lot of times with trauma, it's almost like a reset. It can feel like it's a reset because what's normal starts to become strange or different, and what's not normal feels normal. You get what I'm saying? So it's almost
expand on that. Maybe expand on how that process happens.
So what can typically happen, let's change that from the Great Depression to relationship trauma, because that's people tend to get that a little bit better, right? So let's say there is a family where there is domestic violence, for example, right? Mom or dad, both parents choose to stay, and it's volatile. So the person who's growing up, the child that's growing up, is thinking, because foundationally this is what you're exposed to, even though you might know in your head that's right, you might not always think it's right. It's wrong, excuse me. Because of the patterns, you're just going to pick those things up just because that's what you're being exposed to. So you might know in your head it's not okay to raise your voice at someone or to hit them. However, if somebody says something that triggers, the natural thing for them to do is to hit, because they haven't processed or worked through their trauma. So what's not normal feels normal, and what's normal feels not normal.
Okay. And how would you help somebody recognize that and get out of that cycle?
So one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to address we're going to address the triggers first, right? What is
Mhm.
causing you to, what we're going to address the triggers first. And then we're going to also talk about and address the family dynamics that are around that.
Mhm.
Then we're going to also have, because a lot of times, especially a lot of times, people have a perverted idea of who they are. Like we don't
Mhm.
really know who we are, or they don't like themselves. So we're also going to address and support maybe some esteem issues around that as well, to get you at a higher place, to get you at a better place of where you are. And then as we continue to work through that, as you begin to love yourself more, the more you're able to better treat other people because you're loving yourself better. Does that make sense?
It
While
makes a
dealing with
lot
the
of
drama
sense.
and
Yeah.
the family dynamics that are around that.
Okay. What would you tell people about dealing with political anxiety? I think there's a ton of that today.
So, what I've been telling people when it comes to political anxiety is I've been telling a lot of people things about political anxiety. Most of my clientele are going through that right now.
Mhm.
What I would tell them is, first of all, be selective about what you're exposing yourself to,
Yep.
first of all, and also be selective about your social media um, intake as well, and be intentional about being present in your current world at this time.
Mhm.
I'm also encouraging people that if there are things that they are passionate about, to be intentional about touching on those things that they are passionate about at a grassroots level. So that way they're feeling like they're doing something,
Yep.
because it might not be as beneficial to just post it on a social media thing, because it could lead to other things. But maybe there's something else you can do at a grassroots level that could help support what you're wanting to do, and you're physically doing something about it, and not just
Mhm.
posting something on social media where it can create more vitriol.
Well, and I think too, if you do something grassroots, you're connecting personally with people in real life. And that,
Exactly, and it's helping to build community, like I was just
yep,
reading from the book.
yeah. And it changes how we interact with each other. I mean, it's been said so often online, people are so quick to call names, to insult, to belittle. Whereas when we're face to face, I think we're a whole lot less likely to treat other
Absolutely.
people like that.
Absolutely,
Somebody,
and also it helps us to be more open to hear other people's stories too.
mhm. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I tend to do a lot online, in part because, I have to take care of the animals and things here and trying to write and market and do 1,000 things. But your advice is good. I need to get out more and see people in real life. Um, and can you talk about the importance of creativity and healing from trauma and anxiety and helping our mental health?
Oh, absolutely. Creativity, having a creative outlet, first of all, it helps you to have what's going on inside you being on a canvas, or something written on a document, or something that you've created, right? So it's an artistic expression of where you are in that current moment of time. It's kind of like a momentum of where you currently are, right?
Mhm.
And you can see how you're progressed over a period of time through doing that within the arts. So you can see
Mhm.
growth within that as well. You have a visual way of seeing the growth that's around that as well. Cognitively, it also helps to reframe how things are connecting within your brain when you're
Mhm.
doing that, because you're allowing yourself to realize, I'm going to be okay, you
Yep.
know. So it's a very strong, and it's a very, I advocate for to use your creative skills um, all the time, because it's such a powerful tool.
Now, I had a friend years ago who suffered a trauma, very serious trauma, and she found herself unable to write for a long time. Would your advice have been, to try and work past the trauma and then get back to writing, or to push yourself to do the creative thing?
I wouldn't necessarily tell her to do the creative things. We would work through her coping plan, creating a coping plan to getting her to a better place of healing. That's what our focus would be. Our focus would be,
Okay.
yeah, we would be working through her coping plan, because something has her in fight, flight, or freeze. So we would be
Okay.
working through that to help her get to a place where she could write,
Right.
And creative expression is more than just writing. Like I have found writers who are also talented in other ways. Maybe they can paint,
Mhm.
So maybe if you can't write, maybe you could paint. And the painting doesn't have to make sense to anybody but you.
Mhm.
That's the
Right.
beauty of it. So
Yeah. Where can people find you online?
So I can be found at www.restoringyou.christiancounseling.com, or you can call me at 443-860-6870, or you can email me at info@restoringyouchristiancounseling.com.
Okay. This is a serious topic, but now you have me wanting to write or create a website called Restoring You, EWE,
Oh, I
featuring all
love
my
that.
sheep.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah.
So, my husband and I have all sorts of great ideas for websites, and we just don't have enough hours in the day.
I
So you
understand.
can, yeah, I bet you do. I think every writer I know is involved in so many things.
Mhm.
My experience is writers don't want to just write; they want to do at least 10 other things.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah,
That's why
you
we're
can
writing
find.
like 5 books at one time.
Yeah, I've got my Ivy League mystery series I'm working on, and I just started the 6th one, although I haven't put the first out yet. But you can find me at booksandbrews.net. You can find my books at lauravosica.com. You can find our sponsor at gabrielshornpress.com. We have just put out a new book by Rebecca May Hope, and it is called Stolen by Schizophrenia. And it is about her experience with both her mother and her sister developing schizophrenia. And it's a wonderful book, I know, because I've read it. And you can find the ewes and the rams at glenmerrillfarms.wordpress.com. One day I'm going to fix that on my sheet. So we have coming up next on the Full Books and Brews podcast, I believe her name, I should have checked this and written it down. I think it's Katie Wolf or KD Wolf, something like that. Anyway, she is our December guest and she writes thrillers. So I'm looking forward to talking to her. We are looking for anybody who writes Christmas or wintry themed books to be our guest in December. And if there is any author of medieval fiction who lives or is willing to travel to Knoxville, we have an absolutely wonderful place to film that interview. So we're begging you to come and join us for some mead and a fantastic interview about your medieval fiction. So this has been Books and Brews Light number 57. Thank you for being my guest. Cheers.